Hello and welcome. My name's Dr. Tina Ray. I'm an educational and child psychologist. Today I'm going to focus on the issues that we sometimes have with perfectionism, trying to be the perfect human being. All of us sometimes will have experienced this tendency, and I think it's a really useful topic to really focus on at this current time. This is the 8th in my sessions of 20 sessions, which are quick focus sessions, really focusing on mental health and well-being and what we can all do to help ourselves gain a greater sense of balance and well-being in our lives on a daily basis. At the outset, I want you to think about some of these questions now. Do you often refuse to try new things so that you don't make a mistake? Do you take a great deal of time to do your work sometimes because you're checking for mistakes all the time and tearing it up if you make one or blot the page? Do you put off things that look too hard to do, so just kind of put them to one side, so procrastinate to some extent? Do you give up and get really upset when you can't do something, particularly academically or physically, socially? Do you ask for help first before you actually try to do an activity? Do you put yourself down? Do you find yourself saying, oh, well, it's just me, I'm not good at this, I'm not very clever, I can't do this stuff well or as well as other people? Do you think at all that your work is just simply not good enough or not as good as other people's? I think if we all kind of look through these and really reflected honestly, many of us would say, yeah, I've been guilty of that. I've done that a few times, or I often do that now. I think if you are engaging in those kinds of behaviours, then it may be the fact that you have perfectionist tendencies. You may be what we call a perfectionist. And this is really something for all of us to watch out for, because it can really develop into anxiety problems later on, and also give us very low sense of sort of self-esteem, self-worth. It can make us feel physically unwell too. There are side effects here of actually having that much kind of tension in our bodies, because we'll tend to get more headaches or feel more stressed out physically. So what's really, really important, and this is a big ask, it's not easy. Lots of these things aren't easy. We have to really work at them. We have to work at them to get better at them. But trying to be brave is incredibly important. I often talk about bravery as a life skill, as a character strength that maybe we need to really think about cultivating more. I just can't do this yet is a really good mantra to keep into our heads, okay, and have it there as something that we reflect on all the time and we bring back when we start to do ourselves down. So rather than give up or think we're not good enough, we can say to ourselves, it's okay. It's okay not to be perfect. It's okay not to be able to do this now. I just can't do it yet. If we do this, we can protect our mental health because we're accepting that we can learn from mistakes. And this is a vital thing. Making mistakes doesn't make us a bad person. We learn from the things that go wrong. And that's really, really important. A mistake is not a bad thing. It's only a bad thing when we don't learn from it. So let's think about this just as a key example here. Rather than giving up, Walt Disney kept producing cartoons and persisted even when he faced real setbacks, and people said he was never going to be a success. And most of you probably know this, but J.K. Rowling faced similar challenges when she started to write Harry Potter novels. She was told that they would never make her any money. And just think about how being brave and not giving up made a difference to both Walt Disney and J.K. Rowling, hugely successful. So try this. Some top tips now. Try to be brave rather than being right, brilliant, or excellent. And think about your failures, the things that go wrong that you don't get right, as a chance to learn, because we can all learn from our mistakes. It's important. We've made that mistake. Okay, let's take a deep breath. Let's ground ourselves. Let's calm down. And let's reflect on it rather than get stressed out and catastrophize. Keep saying to yourself, it's okay not to be okay. I just can't do this yet. So this is about developing what Carol Dweck calls a growth mindset. So we persist when we fail. We have a really good sense that we can use our effort to build new skills. We find inspiration from other people's successes. We embrace the challenges, the difficult situations. We want to really have a go and keep that have a go attitude. We also can accept constructive criticism, not nasty comments, but constructive criticism that helps us to get things better, to change things. And we really want to learn. We want to improve ourselves, our skill set, our knowledge base, and build our abilities. Okay, so very, very important. We don't want to slip into what she calls a fixed mindset, which limits us. We avoid challenges. We give up easily. We're threatened by other people's success. We want to look smart, so we kind of don't try things that we think look difficult because we don't want to look stupid in front of people. I think it's really, really important. We need to shift ourselves away from fixed mindsets which are consistent with perfectionism. Try this too. Talk about your fears with a loving adult or friend. Find that person, that significant other in your life that you know you trust, who really would help you to process them, to think through, and to challenge you gently, and to find the evidence against some of that negative thinking you might be engaging in. Don't use what I call self-blame language, like, it's all my fault, I'm just useless. If we keep saying this to ourselves repeatedly on a daily basis, we'll begin to believe it. We need to challenge that and to say, stop, I am not going to think that way. I'm going to be kind to myself. Let's show ourselves some compassion here. Okay, I made a mistake. That's okay. I'll get it next time. That didn't turn out right. Okay, what can I learn from this? Okay, not looking at myself and thinking, oh, I'm such a bad person because I got it wrong. No, that's really, really counterproductive. It's not healthy or it doesn't increase our happiness levels, is what I'm saying. Also, let it go. Sometimes when we make that mistake, when it doesn't go perfectly right, we need just to stop and pause, take that mindful moment where we visualize, we ground ourselves, and we just stop and take a deep breath. Let it go. It doesn't matter. It's not life and death. And I think that's so important to keep it in perspective. So using those relaxation skills, we had a session on this in the series, really, really important, that mindfulness, visualization, grounding, whatever it is that you do to relax, okay? It could be being creative, energetic stuff, going out, exercising, being in the fresh air, chilling out with friends, but use them more often so that you just stop that busyness in your head about being the perfect human being, the perfect student. Very unhealthy objective. We know that life has ups and downs, okay? We don't always achieve the top marks. We don't always get it right. We're not always perfect. That is not how human beings were created to be, okay? We are imperfect. All we can do is try to be the best that we can be, to do our best, and not to get upset or angry with ourselves when we make a mistake. Be kind to ourselves and know we can move on. It wasn't perfect. It doesn't matter. Let's move on. Also, try this. If you are prone to perfectionism and you're someone who really wants to be the best and get it right all the time, then stop. Timetable into your daily schedule some fun times, some down times, okay? So along with the relaxation, things that just you know you love doing, that are really relaxing for you, but things that maybe are perhaps a bit more creative. I think it's important. That has to be scheduled in. You need to timetable this into your daily routines. And make a list. Also, this can be really useful, practical strategy here. Make a list of all the advantages and disadvantages of trying to be perfect, and talk about this again with a trusted adult or friend. Okay, because actually, when you look at a list like that, and you think about the disadvantages, the time it takes, the fact that it makes you angrier, you get more stressed, you tend to observe other people too much in the wrong way, you're hypercritical of yourself and of them. Those are disadvantages. Some of the advantages might be that you do actually do really good work. The disadvantage might be that you're actually really, really tired and stressed out because you're trying to be a 10 out of 10 or 100% person all the time. So talk about that list with a trusted adult or friend. Really good idea just to take a few minutes out, make those lists and really reflect on them carefully. Remember, ultimately, my top tip here is if you try to be perfect all the time, this may make you feel really unhappy, and you might ultimately find it really difficult to cope with your schoolwork, your studies, to keep up with stuff, and also to cope with and manage your friendships. I think it's important to try and be open and honest. As soon as you think perfectionism is becoming a problem for you, you need to go and talk to a trusted adult about it. Every one of us can change our behavior. We're all capable of that. Sometimes, some of us, we will need that little bit more support from someone who cares about us in order to be able to do that. Being brave enough to challenge your perfectionism is just the beginning. So I hope that this has been useful. I hope that some of the strategies you may want to think about and have a go at, particularly making those lists of advantages and disadvantages to perfectionism, add that into your toolbox of well-being. And I know that hopefully you will be creating that as we go through these sessions now. What is it that you can do now at this point in time to challenge that perfectionism if this is an issue for you? What works for you? What doesn't work so well? What do you need to factor into your thinking in your daily schedule in order to get a better balance here? Okay, thanks once again for listening, and I hope that this was useful, and I hope that you'll join me in the next session of the series.